The perimeter of planet Earth slowly illuminates against a black star-filled sky. It turns to reveal the sun shining on land and large bodies of water.
Billions of years ago, the surface of our planet was almost entirely covered with water.
The blue Earth rotates to show a cover of clouds over water.
Only small volcanic islands rose to break the horizon.
A vast blue ocean. Clouds move across the atmosphere.
There are places that still feel that way.
A small island surrounded by sand in the middle of deep blue water. Green trees fill the island.
In the Pacific Ocean are remote atolls. Tiny specks of land hidden in the vast Pacific Ocean.
Two small green islands in the middle of a large bank of sand. Clear water surrounds an island full of palm trees.
For much of our planet's life, they have been protected by remote isolation.
A small rusty plane sits beneath palm trees.
But isolation isn't enough to continue protecting them.
A woman looks to the sky, sun reflecting through the trees onto her face. A man stands with a camera in ankle-deep water. A line of trees beneath puffy white clouds and a blue sky, an underwater world full of coral and fish.
Each monument is a magnet for life. And a home for millions.
A shark swims through blue waters, a pod of dolphins just below the surface, a school of hundreds of small fish. A scuba diver navigates gently among coral, bubbles float to the surface above her.
They are interconnected worlds that begin in the deep, dark parts of the North Atlantic.
Alright, we are at 2254 on Sirius depth.
To the alien world of the Marianas Trench in the Pacific. To the specks of land found in the remote Pacific Ocean.
Small green islands jut out of a vast blue ocean, seabirds perched upon rocks, a fluffy baby bird spreads its beak, a crustacean crawls out of its shell.
So unique, so important to our planet's health, these islands and the millions of square miles of ocean around them have earned our country's protection as marine national monuments.
Text, living monuments. White letters on a black background. Stars shine in a black sky, sun reflects off half the earth as it spins.
Of the 5 marine monuments, 4 are located in the Pacific Ocean, including Papahānaumokuākea, Pacific Remote Islands, Rose Atoll, and Marianas Trench. The 5th, Northeast Canyons and Seamounts, is the first marine monument to be established in the North Atlantic.
Locations are highlighted on a world map. Aqua-colored water surrounds an island with many trees.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, NOAA and their partners work out here on these remote outposts. And their discoveries are changing how we see these atolls.
A man wades through knee-deep water with a pen and paper and radio.
They are responsible for restoring and managing these vast monuments, which seem large, but are the bare minimum required for these ecosystems to stay intact.
A scuba diver observes a reef.
These scientists understand and protect the fragile life here.
She takes close-up photos of the reef. Small black and white fish swim around bright pink coral. Woman holds a clipboard and a pen underwater.
On Palmyra Atoll, there are over 400 species of fish.
Small black fish near the seafloor. A green moray eel peeks out of coral.
The abundance of healthy corals and fish are like going back in time to when all of the Pacific Ocean was this healthy.
A giant school of yellow fish with black stripes swims over a reef.
The forests on these islands are like going back in time too. In the tiny jungle heart is Susan White. She studied these monuments for 10 years.
Birds swarm above an island.
It's so different inside the forest than it is like on the coast.
A spider hangs from its web.
There's such a peacefulness in it. There's such a calmness.
Crustacean with antennas.
So we'll start basically mid-island. Start that transect.
Okay, roger that. So one of the really important things to do is looking for nesting birds, what the populations are like.
Susan looks up to the trees.
We started out on the bird surveys, and there were just a few nests.
Birds here?
Roger that, no birds so far.
She walks into thick vegetation.
And then as you got deeper into the forest,
Okay, we have one.
suddenly there's nests all over the place.
White bird with a blue beak sits in the nest at the top of a tree's canopy. Many birds rest on branches swaying in the wind. A fluffy white bird with a black beak.
Is it a chick or is that just feathers?
I think it might just be like a skew feather on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, a chick, a downy chick with, yeah, it's attended.
Baby bird with no feathers.
You see just an unbelievably spectacular little microcosm that is so wildly alive.
Tiny turtles crawl out of a hole. One scoots along the sand toward the water, and the tide comes up to it.
The ocean doesn't divide us. It actually unites us. And with these monuments, we've got this great transect across the Pacific Ocean.
Waves roll underneath the surface. A shark swims beneath them.
But the ocean is the great connector through all of those islands.
An underwater vehicle shines a spotlight onto a large rock face.
Bridge dive suit permission to proceed with dive. Going down.
Depth of 2,640 meters.
The vehicle lands on the seafloor.
Submerged lands, such as Mariana's Trench and Northeast Canyons and Seamounts, reveal new discoveries and allow us a glimpse of what Earth's earliest days may have looked like. Just like the story of the atolls of the Pacific, which began long ago, in a process still taking place today.
A red glow comes from a volcano. White smoke drifts above it.
Deep beneath the Pacific, the superheated center of the planet reaches out and breaks through the crust to form hotspots.
Lava, which is black on the surface, shows cracks of flaming red inside.
Over hotspots, volcanoes and undersea mountain chains form.
The lava slowly flows and pools to fill cracks along the volcano's surface.
Cracks release poisonous gases at 800 degrees. As the Pacific tectonic plate moves away from the hotspot, the volcano cools and begins to sink back under its own weight.
White smoke billows over a volcano next to the ocean. Sun shines down onto an all-black volcanic surface.
As new islands become dormant, life finds them.
Bright green plant sticks from cracks of earth.
Seeds are brought on wind and water.
Rain falls onto fresh leaves. A flock of birds. A rainbow separates the black sky and a clear sky.
Oceans and rains start to erode the exposed surface, softening the edges and flattening the peaks.
Rainbow arches through the clouds over a sandy beach.
Over time, the island erodes completely away, leaving only a silhouette of where it used to be. That silhouette is what we call an atoll.
Ring-shaped land.
Around the edges, new coral continues to settle and grow. It's a safe refuge.
Baby turtles on sand between bright blue water.
Of all the amazing creatures that call these monuments home, there is perhaps nothing as impressive as the rays.
3 manta rays float gently through the water, rays of sun shine down on them.
On 18-foot wings, manta rays glide hundreds of miles, following the submerged contours of the mountain chain.
Rays swim just above the coral on the seafloor. Their wings slowly raise and lower as they glide through the water. The underbelly of a ray, revealing its gills. a ray just below the surface in shallow water.
Back on land, there is perhaps no creature more abundant than crabs.
Many red crabs and their white shells on the sandy beach. The ocean's tide flows in and out. Sped-up footage shows the crabs tucking away into small holes on the beach.
The huge variety of hermit crabs are some of the most successful species out here on these remote islands. They use old seashells as armor. If they outgrow their miniature home, they upgrade to a more spacious residence.
Two crabs in larger shells crawl along the sand. A large tree with bright green vegetation.
But not all crabs need a shell for armor.
A crab sits at the bottom of a tree inside of a small hole.
In the forest are giant robber crabs.
Researcher walks through the forest.
Studying them can be tricky, since each one can span over a yard across and weigh 10 pounds.
He holds up a robber crab by its legs. The crab's shell a mix of brown and purple colors.
Their body is the size of a football, and their claws are the second most powerful grip in the animal kingdom, as strong as an alligator's jaws or a lion's bite.
A crab on the ground beside a tree root slowly raises its pincers.
Thankfully, they more often use them to open coconuts. After all, they are more commonly known as coconut crabs.
A large pile of coconut shells on a beach. A sky full of birds.
Atolls are mere specks of land hundreds of miles apart. On each tiny island, it can get quite crowded. They are found and colonized, not least by us.
A handful of buildings on the remote island.
To the military, Wake and Midway Islands were a strategic outpost halfway between America and Asia.
Plane on a runway.
It's hard to imagine that these beautiful places were a bustling base of military operations and the stage for battles during World War II.
Many birds gathered around a cannon. The sun sets.
Just as humans have used these islands, birds too need a base of operations. On Midway, none more so than the albatross. Half of the world's Laysan albatross live on Midway. 3-year-olds first return here to find a mate, and will spend 5 years courting a partner that they will keep for life.
One albatross cleans another with its beak.
With luck, they'll breed into their 60s and become some of the oldest parents on Earth.
Two albatross near their baby with downy feathers. They stretch their beaks in the sky together. Baby albatross slowly closes its eye.
To the early Polynesian voyagers, these islands were weeks apart.
A torch's flame against the black sky.
Today, we are still somewhat like them, living off the sea.
A fishing boat in choppy water.
Small yellowfin tuna.
In the far corner of the Pacific is Rose Atoll. 3 or 4 times a year, a scientific team visits Rose. One of them is Charlie Palizza.
For the past 14 years, I've been thinking about and studying Rose Atoll. So you study it, and you talk to people, and you look at the literature and the research.
Land juts out into a body of water.
But it's the little things that you experience when you're actually there. There was no visible signs of man on the island. We came, a crew of 9, and we brought everything with us that we needed for the 3 days that we're there.
Is that the right side? No.
Assembles a tent on the shore.
And we took everything away when we left.
Birds flap their wings above them.
Rose is one component for the seabirds that use it as a nesting place.
White pebble and sand beach.
The remaining part of the equation is the vast sea that surrounds Rose Atoll. The Marine National Monument.
Fish breaches water's surface. A shark with a black-tipped dorsal fin swims with a smaller fish on its back.
And you look under the surface. You see the reef fishes. You see the clams.
Bright, multicolored coral.
And you see growing coral.
Small fish swim in and around underwater plant.
And it's just a wonderful microcosm of the entire system that's on that reef.
Tiny reflective fish swim together in a large school.
Without that protection, we don't protect the species. We can't just protect Rose.
A large piece of dry coral sticking out of clear waters.
Inside the reef, there's this reef flat that goes almost dry at low tide.
Water flows over red coral which is just below the surface.
And then there's these big, huge chunks of coral reef that have been thrown up by the sea.
Dry coral with its jagged edges and hollowed nooks.
The visual of this just vast expanse of pockets of open water and cascading waterfalls, it takes your breath away.
Charlie in ankle-deep water with a camera in hand. He looks out to the vastness.
What really strikes me about Rose is the solitude. There are no planes flying.
The setting sun behind a large cloud.
There's no ships offshore. The only noise was the birds that you heard that all night long were ever present.
The island at dusk. A flashlight shines through the tent.
To know that you can experience nature at its primal, you just realize that it's a really special place that we have to take care of.
The moon glows in a pitch-dark sky as birds fly in front of it. Text: over 750 million acres of pristine ocean, islands, and atolls are protected as marine national monuments and national wildlife refuges, ensuring that these rare and beautiful places are here tomorrow. Visit fws.gov for more information. Crest logo for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and circular logo for NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Tandem Stills Motion.